Green check marks across the board.
And we're live. So how are things with you, John?
Things are good. I wasn't feeling too good this week, so I'm glad I woke up this morning. Maybe it's because we're recording this podcast this morning. I don't know. But how are you doing?
Good. Lots going on. There's so much work to do, and I'm catching up on so many things, even though we don't have an official event planned for December. Looks like I got location for a place in January. We're just finalizing on a date, and we'll see.
Nice. Yeah, that's it's good to get a little bit of a break from events every now and then. You can maybe even try to catch up, but who knows?
Well, it's catch up, rethink, re-strategize on how we're running things. Like we're planning on running Start Investor Drinks different potentially next year. And I've got some new ideas around that. And that's with a new venue. We'll see how that goes. And, we'll play it by ear. Plus, new workshops, new strategies, new online webinars, engaging with the community more to figure out what they need to support them better as a community. So absolutely lots of fun stuff. And this is, a reflection and thinking period, even though there's 1,000 things to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, we might as well jump into it. There's a lot to discuss today. And this first one is talking about nuclear powered spacecraft by the mid 2030s. What are we talking about here, John?
Yeah, we're talking about this company Rocket Roll, which I love. I love the name of it. So they've undertaken this 11-year venture to launch the first nuclear powered space tug. And I don't know what a tug is. And I should have looked that up before talking about it. But yeah. So they recently completed their initial phase, and I had to do some digging into what their initial phase actually was, which essentially was they outlined a visionary mission concept for nuclear-powered space tugs, and investigated the benefits of nuclear electric propulsion compared to traditional propulsion, and that's it. That was the initial phase. So I guess in when it comes to nuclear, maybe that's critical. I would assume, right?
Yeah, definitely. And let's go back a step. So a space tug is a special type of spacecraft designed to perform orbital maneuvers, transport payloads, or service satellites in space. So its primary function is to move objects from one orbit to another or perform tasks like satellite repositioning. So debris removal or even refueling of other spacecraft. So space tugs are like, I guess, like the tugboats in the Marine. You come in close and then we'll do the stuff in between. Space tugs can operate in Earth orbit, lunar orbit, or other parts of space, depending on their design.
Okay, that makes sense. But so I guess my question is, why would they be focusing on a space tug as opposed to maybe that's just the next step is to tug and then the next one is a larger spacecraft? What do you think?
Yeah. For example, transporting satellites from parking orbit to their final destination in orbit is a use case for these things. So you'd throw up a bunch of satellites, especially with Starlink and what they're doing, and then you'd have these tugboats go and actually put them in orbit. They wouldn't necessarily, from like, let's just say an egg carton of satellites, and they just pick them up and drop them somewhere. Getting rid of debris. Orbital servicing, like refueling, repairing, moving stuff around. Like you'd probably like if we had these, we'd probably not have had our astronauts stuck forever because we could have probably moved them from one place to another, right? And and interplanetary missions, assisting spacecraft in reaching destination beyond Earth's orbit. So I could see these being empowered around Mars and what they're trying to do with Mars, where people come in and drop payloads, and now you have these things which would move stuff around to things that will take stuff to the planet, and then stuff from the planet that'll be reloaded on these ships to go back to Earth. So the ships actually never actually have to go into the atmosphere on either side.
No, and I get that, but I guess why is all this money being thrown into these things as opposed to like spacecraft that can carry people or spacecraft that can travel, that can carry people and travel to Mars, right? Because if you have a nuclear spacecraft, you've got a reduced travel time. You've got a whole bunch of efficiencies and things where having people in space with a nuclear spacecraft would make the most sense. So I guess this is my ignorance when it comes to space business, right?
Yeah. So basically, NASA alongside SpaceX and Blue Origin is looking at a hybrid of nuclear propulsion as a legit way to boost our space travel. So, the concept is, we have very unique space vehicles that do very specific things.
Mm-hmm.
We need nuclear power to run these indefinitely because they can't stop, deploy solar power arrays and then take them back and then do work. Like they need to be able to function continuously. I think that the combination is going to happen for what you're saying. The problem is nuclear power right now is not enough to get people off the planet, is not necessarily enough to get to the speeds we need to get from Earth's atmosphere to Mars, but it is enough to move stuff from those things and move around and keep these in space orbital things so that the spaceships that travel from Earth to our orbiting stations that drop stuff off, that's all they do. And then the spaceships that travel between Earth and Mars, that's all they do. And the point, I guess, is making them safe, making them reliable, because now we can power these things indefinitely versus all these other things that have to reuse fuel. And if we have to use the same types of ships, we're reusing fuel, we're reusing resources. So it's just a way of kind of tackling a problem and dealing with it at a very efficient level, I guess. And the nuclear power can be used for those other things as well, like we're talking about with the hybrids.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and there's other countries and other organizations working on it. I know DARPA, they've contracted, thank God they've contracted Lockheed Martin and not Boeing to develop a nuclear-powered spacecraft. They're aiming for an in-space demo by 2027, apparently.
Wow.
And then Russia apparently has announced plans will have a nuclear-powered spacecraft for its first mission by 2030. And China, they're making progress on apparently, I can never trust anything out of China, on a 1.5 megawatt reactor design that can be folded for launch and unfurled in space.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those look pretty cool. And some of the reasons why, we're talking not just about what we were talking about, the tugboats, but we're also talking about the hybrid propulsion. So nuclear propulsion is a game changer in some of these things because, for starters, it could travel much faster than traditional rockets between. So it could cut the travel time to Mars from about 6 months to just weeks potentially, because of it could do constant thrust.
Yeah.
Which you couldn't with the propellant and stuff. Like this is the whole, you can constantly accelerate the whole time, so you can cut speed down, the travel down. So overall, the combination looks pretty interesting, but there are challenges keeping the public on board with nuclear strategy. We've talked about that. Void fears of stemming from glowing green mutants is a task that's easier said than done. If we've got nuclear powered satellites running around everywhere, they do crash to the ground. What are the concerns around all of that stuff? And we're talking. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
We're talking about regulations, right? Like huge companies like Amazon and Meta and whatnot are getting called up in all these regulations around whether they can or cannot use these micro nuclear stations or not. And same thing with this stuff in space. I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of regulations around that. So, as we dream to setting foot on other planets, we must, think about, are we ready for long-term human presence in the cosmos? With each new advancement, we're venturing closer to turning fantasy into reality, but it's not just about technology. It's about our international collaboration, like you're saying. Picture countries sharing knowledges and resources like friendly neighbors, lending each other lawnmowers, except, it's expertise on nuclear propulsion. We're really not there yet. So it kind of scares me a little bit if we're all doing our own nuclear powered space race.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what though, this just goes to the larger point that we're talking about is like all of these different companies going after nuclear, developing nuclear, harnessing nuclear. I think we're on a precipice now of nuclear becoming a norm in society.
We're definitely getting there. It seems to be right. in the zeitgeist way more.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a lot more casual companies are talking about. We see several different private companies making mobile nuclear reactors for all sorts of reasons. We see the military contract, we see the space stuff, and it's amazing. It's like, okay, great, we're doing all these things. This is fantastic. But the kicker around where this stuff gets particular interesting, where you're like, why are we spending all this money on this in particular?
Mhm.
Where this gets really interesting is asteroid mining. The
If they
possibility
can,
of harvesting resource from asteroids, is on the horizon. People are saying, like, if we just get one asteroid, it could be all more than all the riches and all the gold mines and all this stuff, depending on what's in it. You're talking about mining stuff on the moon, helium-3, for example, because it's valuable or what have you.
yeah.
These types of things allow for that to happen where you really couldn't do that before. So the possibility of harvesting these resources of asteroids aren't as far away now because they've all talked about it, and getting new materials to bring back to Earth. So, are we going to have a new gold at some point in the future that is space gold?
Yeah, well, I know that NASA is trying to capture this $10 trillion asteroid, and they're very close to capturing it or something like that. I was reading about that this week, I think. Did you see that?
I saw they were working on it. I haven't seen what the status is. I saw a few weeks ago they were talking about it and working on it, so I don't know
Yeah.
if it's passed, if they've caught it. I don't know anything about that, but I know that they've been talking about mining asteroids and that it's the next, huge mineral front. And once you can start building these tugs that can
Mhm.
actually pick up the stuff, move back and forth, this becomes a major reality.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up this cosmic journey, let's reflect. With nuclear-powered spacecraft on the brink of becoming a reality, how soon do you think we might see humans popping out of their ships on Mars or Saturn's moons? Is Elon Musk's 20-year strategy of people being on Mars a reality? Are we ready for the responsibility of traversing the galaxy? Or are we just about to play interstellar hitchhiker? What are your thoughts, predictions, and any wild ideas you have about space exploration with us? Send it on, drop us a comment, leave us a message on social. All right. So we've talked about this next one a couple of times from a couple of different angles, but apparently the DOJ is really cracking down on Google. And one of the things they've suggested is that they sell Google Chrome.
Yeah.
And these things have to be decided within a year. Like it's August 2025 where stuff has to be happened by based on the court stuff. So what's your take on all this, John?
Yeah, so I guess I'm not surprised, and I see that the DOJ finally has some teeth, and they're actually moving forward, like the Europeans have been doing. But it reflects a growing trend in kind of governments trying to rein in the power of big tech companies. So the outcome of this is going to really have an impact on future antitrust actions. If this actually goes through, it 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 could be a big game changer where companies actually rethink their strategies and things like that. So the other thing too is it also raises questions about the balance between fostering innovation and preventing monopolistic practices, right? Especially in the tech sector, because we always talk about, oh, this company has a monopoly, oh, this company has a monopoly, oh, this company has a monopoly, and until recently, nothing's been done about these monopolies. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad something's being done. Is this what needs to be done? I don't know. Um, I don't see how selling off Chrome breaks up a monopoly. What about you?
Yeah. So, it depends on the overall take on this. And this is just one of the things they're suggesting. And we talked about this a little bit ago when they found that they were a monopoly. And one of the things that they found predatory was they're paying all these other companies to put Google as their default search.
Yeah.
And that includes Firefox. It includes Brave. I think Brave might not be Brave. A few of these other browsers. And, we talked about 90% of their income comes from Google paying them to put that in there. Without that, they wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So when you say they're going to sell Chrome, okay, what does that mean? Does that mean they're breaking that off to a separate company? I have to read that a little bit. It's like worth about 20 billion from what I understand, if not more. And does that actually change their monopoly on search?
I don't think so, because search is completely different than Chrome. Chrome is just a browser, although Chromium is a lot of browsers are based on Chromium. But again, the DOJ is arguing that Google's control of Chrome gives it an unfair advantage in the search market, and I think I would say I disagree with that. I know Chrome is the world's most popular web browser. I think they have a market share of, I think it's 60% or over 60%. But I don't know what kind of an impact this is going to have on Google as a whole, as a company. I think, I don't know if this is just something that is just optics, good optics, but for those that don't understand tech and those who aren't in tech, but who knows? What do you think, Craig?
Well, the DOJ's reasoning seems to be straightforward. By slicing off Chrome from Google's empire, smaller browsers like Firefox and Edge may earn a fighting chance to shine, leading to new functionalities, improved privacy features, and increased customer choices. I guess it's like giving the underdog a seat at the dinner table. Let's see if they bring dessert, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're saying they're stifling the innovation of other companies because they own Chrome, because they're developing it too fast, because they have the monopoly in search. Like, this is it seems slightly counterintuitive to me, the logic here. It doesn't mean it's wrong. I'm just trying to as we go through it, if the proposals go through, it could turn Google's entire ecosystem on its head. We might see better privacy controls or interesting new features catching our attention, but I don't know why would we see better privacy controls? Because when you say they're getting rid of Chrome, Google controls Chrome, which controls Chromium, the open source that everyone else uses. So they have to break that off so that these other browsers are no longer controlled by Google, and we'll see innovation throughout the ecosystem. Okay, now I'm starting to see a picture where we're saying, all right, since everyone else is based on Chrome, they can only develop as fast as Google can, and they'll only implement features that Google will let them implement. Otherwise, they can't kind of innovate at the level and scale they want to.
Yeah, but here's the thing: so I see this is a positive for antitrust, but I don't think it's a positive for tech as a whole. I don't think it is. I think, like we do have browsers out there. I think there's a lot of browsers that are based on Chromium, as well, which is the underlying tech for Chrome browser. So I think what it'll do, I think it'll hinder development if Google stops working on Chromium. They're saying in the article, it's saying that it could increase competition, could lead to more choice and innovation for consumers, but I don't think I don't think that is the case in this case. Now, what you said, it might reduce Google's ability to collect user data across the web. Absolutely, I agree with that, and I think that's great. But again, Google will just find a workaround. I think the biggest problem here is not so much anymore now that we're seeing all these like Perplexity and ChatGPT search, but their monopoly on search and ads. That's the biggest problem in this whole thing.
Yeah, and it is talking about Google's search monopoly, and by taking Chrome away, I guess it gives people more options. Maybe forcing people to pick a search provider when you install Chrome versus having any sort of default might even change how the world operates. But like I said, Google pays these other browser companies, even if they're based on Chromium, to use Google as their search engine, and it's their primary revenue source. It's like, now what do these companies do? So, Google's not going out down without a fight. The tech behemoth is defending its practices by claiming it actually promotes competition. They argue that innovations have flourished under their watch, offering features that supposedly help users. But isn't that what every overbearing company would say? Trust us, bro. We're doing this for you. We're from the government. We're here to help. Just ask any parent trying to justify why they won't give their child a puppy. So, who do you trust in this? I don't trust. I definitely don't trust Google.
No, I don't. I don't like. Again, the only positive thing from this is that they're making headway with trying to break up monopolies. I think that's the only positive thing that will come out of this. Is if this goes through, that means they've got some teeth, and hopefully when Trump comes in, he doesn't take away those teeth. But who knows? So everything's up in the air right now until Trump gets into office, because we have no clue what changes are going to be made. Or we do, I just haven't been listening too much, but what changes are going to be made to the DOJ once Trump gets in.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything about monopolies or otherwise. I know there's a lot of push for deregulation in a lot of areas. And as a result, they'll be trying to get rid of a lot of government agencies. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to watch. Not living in the US, I can sit back and look at the experiment in cutting big government, and will we think it's successful? Will it be a huge political battle? Will they be able to reduce because I'm all for reduced government spending and reducing waste, but what does that look like when in practice?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, Elon went in, got rid of 66%, 70% of Twitter, and it's, operating pretty good still. All right. Was that all waste? Was it this? Was it that? Some of it obviously was.
Way, you still think that Blue Sky? Do you still think that Blue Sky isn't a threat after all these news articles on Blue Sky and the amount of daily users?
I haven't even seen it. Like I just imagine like, so Dorsey's already left Blue Sky, so Blue Sky's done. No offense, but it's the same thing. Threads, Clubhouse. Oh, this is the latest thing. Everybody's got to jump over here where I'm leaving, and then everyone. This is just as toxic. This is just as bad. It's the internet. Welcome, people.
Yeah, exactly.
There for everyone that has the same opinion as you, there's at least another 10 people who have a different opinion as you, and they're not afraid to tell you. So you have to have a little bit of a thick skin and expect to say, I'm going to say these outrageous things. Now I'm going to go over here and say these outrageous things, and people, they're just as mean to me over here. Well, maybe you should say less outrageous things. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
If you want, don't offend half the country. Don't do these things if you don't want to be yelled at, like for your opinion. It just seems whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
If you're gonna step onto the field of battle, just it's you're gonna get bruised. That's all.
Yeah.
And when you see these things, I just wonder if it's gonna lead to innovation, getting back to the Google situation here, or not. Like, does this lead the way for X saying, all right, I'm going to have my own browser now because I can compete because Google's no longer doing this?
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I'd love to get like an actual tech person, like someone who's deep diving into this, not Bloomberg, to see what their thoughts are as far as what the implications are for the tech industry or the web browsing industry, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would have had the Bloomberg article on here, but it's subscriber pay behind the paywall for me here. So I just have the one that Toronto starts. Yeah, it'd be interesting to take a deep dive and see where this is going. We're going to see more information come out about this in the next little while. And, we need to mull over something like if divesting Chrome could reshape the digital landscape, what features would you want to see in a brand new browser? Would you prioritize privacy, speed, perhaps a browser that can magically refill your coffee cup that's built on AI? Hit us up with your thoughts. My last thought before we jump over, is just as competition for Google search is coming out in Anthropic and in Search GTP and some of these other things, they're coming down hard on them as their monopoly. It's a question, it's wonder if this timing is just, would this happen if this happened 2-3 years from now? Without any of this, would Google still have the same search monopoly, or would a big chunk have been taken out by these other companies? It's just curious. Now we may not see the result of that. The browser wars may not be over. They may just be getting started, and I'd like to know what you think. Leave us a comment. So Mark Zuckerberg decided to restructure his company around Llama and AI.
Yeah, and it's funny. He quietly did this because remember what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? He was all in for the metaverse, obviously, because he's named Meta. So this is interesting. It's smart, but again, it just goes to show that these tech guys don't know everything. So the thing is Llama, which is Meta's generative AI model, it's become a central focus for the company's strategy. They decided to release Llama 2 as an open source model in the summer of 2023. And I believe that marked a significant shift in Meta's approach to AI. So what it did was the open source nature allowed developers to access, modify, improve the underlying code and weights and all that sort of stuff. And it positioned Meta as a champion of democratizing tech among Silicon Valley developers, which is cool. And the other thing, too, is that the Llama models themselves now power a range of Meta products, including AI assistants across Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all that sort of stuff. So it just goes to show that the AI is here, and Zuck still knows his stuff, and he's making smart moves. This one he made a little bit quieter, but yeah. What do you think, Craig?
Well, we'll see, right? Like we've been talking about AI for a long time, and a year or so ago, with ChatGPT 3, I'm like, it's not that impressive, but it's moved so far, so fast, and we're starting to see how the world is actually changing with AI. Like everything is changing, and if you doubt that, you are living under a rock and you need to start looking around. So when you say you're a huge company, and Zuckerberg is the one who said that in the next few years we are going to see the first $1 billion single person company, and think about that. And when he's thinking about that, saying if one person company can be $1 billion, how because they design completely around AI. If I design my multi-billion-dollar company around AI, what could I become?
Yeah.
And by doing these agents, by really using AI to its full potential inside a company, you can really do a lot. So it's like the pivot NVIDIA has done from gaming computers to data centers. And have you seen that graph? When they pivoted, their profit went I'll look it up and see if I can call it up in a bit. Now you can see Zuckerberg is trying to make this shift, saying, we are an AI company versus, so, we have our data, we have ads, we have, Facebook ads and all this stuff and Instagram and everything else. And we're a data company. But when you put it together at the end of the day, we are now becoming an AI company. And we're going to transform all these experiences. However, Zuck doesn't have the best track record. So, and I don't mean like, Facebook has done amazing. It's done all these things. And I say, he doubled down on HTML5 and say we're doing HTML5 native apps only, blah 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 blah. They spent billions and billions, and then how many years later said, screw that. We just can't get the performance, we can't get this, we can't get that. It's not happening. Now it's like, look, the metaverse is the future. We're doing all these things that are now AI is the future, but maybe it's the same because have you seen I posted that article in Toronto Starts about that new Minecraft open AI style game where it's all AI driven and you can have you seen that demo?
No, I
If
haven't.
you haven't seen that demo, it's amazing where the it's like, okay, make this give the players weapons, make everything, amazing. And you're just running around doing it. You give it 2 or 3 prompts and this game is happening. And like, this is the future of games. It literally is. And they're running around doing this and it's amazing. And when you take a step back, you say, okay, wow, we can sit back and say, we are an AI company. That means we can actually do anything. We have all this data on you. We can customize any online, virtual, non-virtual experience down to the core because, the big thing they have over 10,000 points of data on every individual. They claim they know you better than your spouse. So imagine that with AI and being able to do all that manipulation.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you saw it. Speaking of gaming, there was an AI thing that rendered the game in real time, frame by frame, as you were playing it.
Yeah, this was
Doom, I think.
Yeah, I saw that Doom demo. That was not bad.
Yeah. Sorry,
and
but yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I have to look up that Minecraft style game that is completely AI driven by a couple of prompts and created. It's amazing. Like the stuff the graphics are Minecraft level and they're not but it's a battle royale. It's this, it's that, and just a couple of prompts you're playing. So we don't know where the future is going with this, but Zuckerberg's rolling up the sleeves, not just because it's hot in the lab AI, but because he's hands-on leader tackling the ever-escalating competition from TikToks and snaps in the digital jungle, while younger generations are flocking these platforms like cotton candy at the carnival. Meta is trying to offer something with a bit more substance, a menu filled with personalized experiences powered by AI. So it'll be interesting to see if they become more relevant as people do start to leave for TikTok, the younger generation.
Yeah. And
apparently Snaps is still a thing. So
oh yeah, it's huge. And the spectacles are huge. The Ray-Bans. The Ray-Bans.
Oh, the Meta.
Ray-Bans. Yeah.
Well, they're getting more and more popular, and the stuff where they were hacked. I've seen more and more news stories talking about, the thing we talked about a while ago where they were hacked and they could start identifying people.
Yeah, I'd love to get a pair of those ones, just for networking events and stuff, right?
Well, it starts to get kind of scary. You're a TikToker. I'm more of a YouTuber. I've seen a few of these videos where they're talking about this AI-powered app that will take your first name, your age, and a picture of you and find out whether you're on any of the dating apps and pull up your profile.
Oh, interesting.
So you see these videos where the guy comes up and how long you been dating? You guys trust each other, blah, blah, blah. So if you were on a dating app, would that be considered cheating? And next thing you know, you're showing his spouse on the dating
app.
It's, oh my God. It's like, okay, imagine these things. I'm just using that as an example of the privacy issues that start coming. We saw that video where people were looking around and it found somebody, identified their name and who they were business wise and whatever. And then they went up and started having a conversation pretending, hey, I saw you at the conference, blah, 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 back in the day. Social engineering becomes a thing. So,
more than ever. Now you can video chat and you can be that other person.
Yeah. It's like the whole thing is scarier and scarier. Yeah. Like it's nice to be able to walk in a networking room and kind of identify people. That'd be great. But at the same time, do you want to be identified by anybody randomly doing anything?
Exactly.
So we walk up to you and say, "Hey, John Irwin, I hear you do Thread, blah, blah, blah. You were at this event last week, but, and you're like, who the hell are you, right? Like, do you
Yeah.
want that? And what data is actually yours and what data isn't? And as soon as AI, we talked about this when AI starts scraping your LinkedIn information, all this stuff, and puts everything together, you get uncomfortable about how much information you're actually putting out there online.
Yeah.
So we're getting way off track here, but so with Meta's journey isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Privacy concerns are like that annoying friend who always stirs the pot. Zuck is balancing the scales between innovation and user safety, like a tightrope walker with a bucket of data on each side. We'll have to see, again, I don't trust these companies because they've been, using our data for how long. So as we charge forward toward the horizon where Meta embraces AI on a grand scale, we must ask ourselves, is it time for other companies to hop on the AI bandwagon? Are they just going to watch from the sidelines? Should they heed the call of transformation or cling desperately to the past like VHS tapes in a streaming world? Is that what we're going to see? Or are we going to see craft organizations? We don't use AI. We're all human and we charge a premium as a result. Or what are we going to see? Let us know your thoughts, right? Do you think Zuckerberg's AI revolution is the blueprint for the future of tech or just another redesign in a long line of tech makeovers? All right. You ready for the latest from Elon Musk?
Let's dive in.
So, did you ever dream of having a robotic arm at your command, like a superhero with the spandex? Well, Elon's Neuralink is shooting for the moon with technology that might just take your sci-fi fantasy and make it a reality, or give you nightmares about your brain being hacked, depending. Neuralink, the brainchild of your favorite tech visionary, was founded to create brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, that connect human thoughts to machines. And since 2016, it's been like Star Wars droids, but instead of C-3PO, we're getting mind-controlled robotic arms. The latest study shows that participants with implants were able to navigate these robotic limbs with mere thoughts. Picture this: someone controlling a robot arm to sip their morning coffee like the most natural thing in the world, all thanks to some big high-tech magic. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, this is crazy. It's not too far-fetched compared to the BCI, because I feel like this is even less complex to me, because it's sending signals to a microcontroller essentially that will move the robot, the arm, based on specific signals and things like that. So I'm not like, impressive as it is, the interface to the computer I think is more impressive, but this is still cool. So the technology, it's a coin-sized implantable device in the skull, just like the Neuralink. And it's, so I think it's cool. And again, this could be great for manufacturing, for people to work directly with robots and things like that, so that there's less injuries. But again, it's cool. It demonstrates the ability to control external devices using brain signals. But I don't feel like this is as big of a step forward as it was with being able to control a computer. What about you?
I think it is a big step forward, as like to be able to control a computer, just because it's a quality of life change, where it's great that we've seen the people these implants playing Civilization at the most difficult level and being able to control the interface and mastering that the computer. That's amazing. And opens up a whole new world. But now physically being able to do things that you weren't able to do before, like, pick up your own coffee and have a drink, or whatever, open a doorknob, or, flush a toilet, or whatever. I don't know. That to me is a life-changing thing for someone who doesn't have the ability to do that.
Yeah, so that's true. Yeah. So this would be good for like prosthetic limbs and things like that. Yeah, so it's cool. But yeah,
But
I
in the
think,
end, it's the same thing as controlling, a computer, right? Same thing.
yeah, I think it's less complex than controlling a computer.
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about what the interface would be like, but I guess it is just because you'd have only a limited amount of inputs.
Yeah, it's like you're just you're interfacing with a wireless microcontroller where you're sending specific signals and then sending those signals to the arm, and obviously there's a lot of development that needs to be done for sure. I think that their first breakthrough with the computer interface has really helped them to. I would say it would make this easier for them to do this. So if they'd done this first, I'd be like, oh my god, this is great, this is awesome, this is phenomenal. But I think because the path they took a harder path first, and now this is like the next logical step. Makes sense. Just not as big of a breakthrough as their initial breakthrough, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it also raises some questions like what happens when your thoughts can be read? Could someone hack into your brain and make you think you want to dance like nobody's watching on the table during the office meeting? Or, is it reversible? You can pull thoughts. Can you push thoughts? And, how much, once we start having a brain computer interface, how much of our thoughts are private?
Yeah.
So how do these mind controlled arms actually work? Simple. Think of your brain as a remote control. The Neuralink picks up specific signals linked to your thoughts, kind of tuning into your favorite radio station. The robotic arm gets the message loud and clear, translating your brainwaves into movements. More tuned in than a teenager with their headphones. These arms set to make life significantly easier, proving that technology is not just for the diehard gamers among us. So I like this technology, and it's great. And when you can actually put it into a whole Wii robot style of thing, you've got a different kind of thing as well.
For sure, yeah. And again, like I might not fully understand the full implications of this advancement. I guess I'm just looking at it. I guess I can. I'm remembering that orange and blue robot from the 90s or 80s that you had, and I'm just thinking about that and that interface, right? So
yeah, and it's great. Like we're coming a long way. This is amazing how far we're coming. We're soon going to be in Iron Man suits, or changing the world for people who have mobility issues due to injury or whatnot, that we can now potentially put exoskeletons and things that do this. It doesn't have to be a robotic arm. I can actually move myself now, when you start putting these pieces together, and it's a lifestyle change. But potential medical, again, I don't know all the implications of the robotic interface, other than helping with movement and repairing lost mobility and that kind of stuff. But just because I haven't really thought how far down this could go. But here's our thought-provoking question I want to leave you with is, if you could control a robotic arm with your mind, what would you use it for? Would you use it to fetch snacks during movie night, or would you use it to become the ultimate multitasker at work? What would you do? Share us. Tell us what you would do with your extra arm. Let's dream boldly, and let's help these droids. Let's hope these droids don't take over the world.
yeah.
And before we move on from this, this Neuralink processor is now coming to Canada. It's been approved to be implemented in surgery and whatnot in Canada, approved for human trials.
Yeah. Yeah, this is crazy. So the Canadian trial, it's known as CanPrime. So Canadian precise robotically implanted brain computer interface. It's going to take place at Toronto's Western Hospital, and the hospital has been designated as the first and exclusive surgical site for the Neuralink procedure in Canada. So it aims to evaluate the safety of the N1 implant and the surgical robot R1. They're looking to assess the initial functionality of the BCI and enable people with quadriplegia to control external devices with their thoughts. So I think this is going hand in hand with the, maybe not, with what they're doing. So they're looking for participants right now. That they don't have the participants, but Health Canada has granted approval to launch their first clinical trial in the country. So it's cool because it's the first time that Neuralink will conduct human trials outside of the US. But again, it's scary as F.
Yeah, again, I'm happy this is happening. So let's take a positive look and not necessarily look at the short-term negative implications and say, okay, they're coming to Canada. Neuralink is developing, like we said, a brain-computer interface. Think of them as high-speed USB ports to your brain. They create a direct connection between your neurons and digital devices. This means bypassing traditional interactions like typing or clicking and translating brain signals into action. So that's pretty cool. It could allow people with paralysis to control computers, robotic limbs, like we mentioned, or even cure conditions like ALS. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So the BCI interface concept is amazing. There are obviously ethical and other concerns, but imagine being able to upgrade your memory or cognitive functions. That's right. Neuralink has its eye on enhancing your brain power. It's like the ultimate cheat code for humanity. It also comes with some serious ethical questions. Are we ready to play God? Would we create a divide between the enhanced and non-enhanced? We might find ourselves in a world where the brain upgrades become the newest status symbol, leading to society of tech haves and have-nots. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's like obviously there's a broader implication here, but yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical about all of this, but apparently it's been successful in the US. And like the person, have we heard anything about the follow up from their first initial trials?
Well, it's been in more and more people. And like there's streams where you can watch the first person go out and play. I think he's still online streaming on Twitch. He's making money off doing that. As a Twitch streamer playing games and whatnot, which is great. So I haven't heard about negative side effects and stuff from since we've got human participation.
Yeah. So maybe that's the positive thing going forward. And like I know Canada is a lot more stringent with their approvals of testing and clinical tests and things like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this Canadian trial shows. And
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I agree with 100%. They must operate under strict regulatory guidelines here, and we're all excited about the possibilities. But imagine if someone could hack our brain, or worse, you could accidentally enable your coffee maker with a stray thought.
Exactly, that's scary. Yeah.
So the brain processing capabilities are believed to be around 1 exaflop, an unfathomably big number that even tech giants drool over. That's the exact kind of horsepower that could give Google's data center a run for their money, and who knows what's brewing in the lab. The technology could also pave the way for incredible advancements in mental health treatment and rehabilitation. So it scares me a little bit when you think about that, because I've read books where they've done this, where in sci-fi books where like the children all over the world are going in a coma because they're playing this game, and what's really happening is this game is taking their brain power to power the game. So you start saying, is it this kind of horsepower that could give Google's data centers a run for their money in a single human brain? So you start tapping into this and you're like, okay, how long until someone decides that, you know what, it's way easier to build human data centers than actual data centers.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just the internet will be through our brains, and the storage will be in our brains, and we'll just be Borgs.
Yeah, the Matrix just got it wrong. They're not using us for heat and power. They're using us for computing power. The robots are using the humans for compute.
Yeah.
So that, is interesting. So what about the future? If successful, can you imagine a time where doctors can use these interfaces to help patients with neurological disorders, or a scenario where people are empowered to enhance their natural abilities or to deal with things like addiction, whether it's obesity, drugs, alcohol, having another way of dealing with these things rather than potentially chemical drugs might be good.
Yeah, for sure. There's tons of positive implications. But there's also the negative side. But yeah, I'm hoping that we get a positive outcome out of this, and that we're able to harness the power of our brain, but also protect the power of our brain.
Yeah, if successful, can you imagine a time where doctors are using these interfaces to enhance natural abilities? Whether it's memory, recall, being able to say, okay, we'll flood your brain in the morning so you don't necessarily need coffee with the right endorphins to wake up. When you can now start tweaking your brain for all these different chemical interactions to have it running the way you want to. But obviously that leads down a very dangerous road when you're starting to program your own brain.
Yeah.
So as we stand on the precipice of this neurotech revolution, we must ask ourselves, are we ready to embrace the wonders of a Neuralink, or are we too afraid of what it might mean for humanity? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you see yourself in the future with a Neuralink implant, or do you think it's a step too far? Share your predictions and ideas with us. And until next time, keep questioning the innovations.
Yeah.
So back to one of your favorite topics.
Yeah. So this is interesting, but also take it with a grain of salt, everyone. So Chinese researchers, again, China, can't really trust a lot of stuff that comes out of there. The stuff that we're talking about right now, it hasn't been independently verified. So this is just an article that just came out. So they reportedly demonstrated that D-Wave's quantum annealing computers can crack the widely used encryption methods, including RSA and AES. So for those of you that don't know, RSA and AES are pretty much used in everything as far as encryption goes nowadays. For the most part, there are newer encryptions that are coming out, like I think PQ3, and I think Apple developed that one, which is apparently quantum proof. And I think we covered it. I can't remember. I don't know if I just did a deep dive into it and we didn't talk about it, but yeah, so they reported factoring a 50-bit RSA integer using the D-Wave Advantage system. And also, they were able to demonstrate, apparently, vulnerabilities in algorithms essential to AES, such as present, rectangle, and GIF6 block ciphers. So there's a lot of mathematical talk, everyone, but they are claiming that they've cracked both, which is the underlying encryption that's being used right now.
So we talked about post-quantum encryption, and the PQ3 was just mentioned when we were talking about it. Yeah. So we didn't do a deep dive specifically on this. So RES, like you said, and AES are like trusty locks on our digital doors. RSA, or Reves Shamir Aldman, has been our go-to since 70s for secure communication. It uses a clever method of hiding keys in plain sight, factoring large primes, making it difficult for anyone without the right key to peek inside. On the other hand, AES, or Advanced Encryption Standard, is our speedster, employing a single secret key for lightning fast data protection. Together, they form a crucial defense in our digital lives. So keeping everything from online banking to whatever our cat videos are on our phone are safe. So when quantum computers can break this, it all of a sudden makes the whole internet vulnerable.
It does. And one thing to note is they broke a 50-bit RSA integer. Right now, what's being currently used, I think there's 248 and even 496-bit RSA keys. Maybe not 496. I think 496 is being considered. So it's far from breaking practical RSA encryption. Okay, but it's apparently a first step if it actually happened.
Yeah, and if you can see the image here, this is a D-Wave refrigerator used to cool the Vestas chip to 0.02 degrees above absolute zero. So you need this in order to do it. Oh, my camera became disconnected. We'll just, as long as you can hear me, we'll keep going.
Yeah, I still hear you. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you see that. So not only that, but like you mentioned, it was only 50-bit RSA, and we're usually doing 256 at this point, aren't we? Or 1024 or 2000.
We are currently doing 2048.
Yeah.
And 496. Well, 20. Yeah, we're doing what's the one? 12,024. We're doing 1024, but 2048 and 4096 bits are being considered. But if they're already at 50-bit, how much longer till they get to 248? If they're at 50.
Yeah, and it also demonstrated the vulnerability of algorithms essential to AES, such as present rectangle and GIF64 block ciphers. These encryption standards are used by major organizations and governments worldwide, so that could be compromised as quantum continues to evolve. So I guess we're starting to see a peak at the power of quantum, but it's just a peak.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a peak, but that peak's gonna the peak is gonna get higher and higher and higher. And we're just gonna keep reaching that peak more and more and quicker, I think. But who knows?
Yeah, the researchers are waving the quantum flag, brandishing Shor's new algorithm like a magic wand, capable of turning these encryption giants into paperweights. This algorithm takes advantage of quirky behaviors of quantum mechanics, making once took an eon into a Sunday stroll in the park. For reference, if traditional computing is like navigating a maze with a flashlight, quantum computing is akin to having a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
So if RSA goes down, we might as well throw a digital party for hackers and digital thieves, because your sensitive company's emails, all your information, will be there for the taking. While AES is a tougher nut to crack, quantum algorithms are sharpening their teeth, suggesting there's nothing is truly safe if we don't adapt. Researchers are already on the hunt for quantum-resistant algorithms like lattice-based cryptography, which sounds like something out of futuristic kitchen appliance ad. Only it's essential for data protection. So where do you see this going in the future?
Well, I think just companies are going to come up with new algorithms that are quote-unquote quantum proof, and different ways of encrypting data. And I think that's the best way that we can go. Obviously, implementing new cybersecurity measures for protecting data. But I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that this could go. There's a lot of different options and a lot of different tech that could be developed that we don't even know yet, right? What do you think?
I think you're right on the money. Sorry, I was playing around. I got my camera back, but I'm in green screen mode. Things need to change. The internet, everyone thinks the internet moves really fast, but it moves really slow. Like 2048-bit encryption has been around, for years and years and years, and we're still just moving our encryption certificates towards it. So it's a race to fortify our virtual walls before, quantum power becomes to the point of being able to break everything. So we need to definitely increase our encryption, take a look at potential technologies like you mentioned, the PQ3, PQ meaning post-quantum encryption.
Yeah.
that those technologies which won't necessarily fall prey to the quantum attacks. If current methods crumble under quantum pressure, we'll need to play a game of encryption leapfrog. So, imagine business gearing up to adopt advanced crumble-proof methods for securing data, like encrypted messages on steroids. So you might have encryption in encryption because of these things. With rapid advancement in quantum technology, are we ready to face a world where encryption methods are no longer reliable? What are your thoughts on the future of cybersecurity in the wake of these quantum leaps? If information wants to be free, is this the way it's going to happen? Let us know. Head over to socials. And do you think it's time to rethink our digital safety nets? Or, like I said, if information wants to be free, maybe if all the data is out there and we have no secrets anymore, maybe the world would be a better place.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
I know. I'm dreaming. All right. What do you got going on, John?
Well, today we're November 27th recording this, but I got a couple events tomorrow. Venture Day at TBDC, and then MNP's Tech the Halls, and just plugging away with you and talking with helping people get government funding. How about you, Craig? What are you up to?
New courses launching, new coaching offers, covering coaching, pay what you can for coaching is now available on startupcoach.ca for a limited time. Check that out. Check out startupdrinks.to.com for our new events being announced for the end of February. And lots of stuff happening at torontostarts.com. There's new podcasts, new articles being published every day. If you like tech or startups, head over there for news and info. So lots of stuff going on.
Absolutely.
So thanks, everyone. Remember to like and subscribe and tell your friends about Silicon Scoop. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.